Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we'll be exploring one of your main complaints about Delta Force and one of my main complaints, the maps, and why some of them are just so frustrating, what the problems are. In this video, I'll be diving into specific designs of some areas and how I personally believe some areas are designed specifically for you to lose. Yes, I'm actually serious, and I'll try to demonstrate exactly what I mean by that in this video. But we'll not only be talking about the map design, we'll be talking about other contributing factors that make the gameplay on the maps frustrating, if that makes sense. I'll be covering head glitching and what can be done about that, as well as the gunplay near the end of the video. So without further ado, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and let's take a look at the first area. The first area we're going to be taking a look at is actually Ascension First Sector on Attack and Defend. I will not be looking at King of the Hill or Conquest map layouts because I personally believe a lot of the maps in this game play significantly better on King of the Hill. I think Attack and Defend provide a unique opportunity to section off a portion of a map and really critique its design and how it plays, and that is exactly what they do. You know, it's sector-based gameplay. So if you take a look at the first sector here, if you played the game, if you've experienced Warfare mode, you've definitely played this, particularly if you played the playtests, you know that this first sector is an absolute nightmare for defenders, okay? And that is because, in my opinion, it is intentionally designed just to be lost very quickly by the defenders. And you'll see that sort of theme in these maps. The first sector is easy, and the second sector is a little harder, third sector a little harder, then it just continues the trend. You know, fourth and fifth sectors, typically speaking, are the hardest, but that's not true for all maps. Now, why is this first sector so bad in my opinion? Well, as you can see, we have a screenshot here, and we're looking at it from the attacker's perspective, but the out-of-bounds lines here that you can see, you know, these lines here are the same for attack and defense, but the point is right here in the center, and this hill right here that I just circled, right? This one right here is absolutely essential for the defenders to hold, but it's almost impossible to hold as defenders. You see the attackers can flank all the way around here. The attackers also have a secondary uncap that is right here that allows them to go on this hill and take over this. They can smoke this off and then go to the front of the point. They have so many options, and you can't really stack up here as defenders to take this hill and defend it properly because of how easy it is for the attackers to get the upper hand on you, right? And once you lose this hill, you lose all basically defensive sight lines on the point from height. The attackers are now looking down at you from head glitches, and the defenders really don't have much cover to work with at all. And then, of course, once they're behind you, once you're on this hill, once you've lost this hill, especially if they've taken the turret too, the defenders have no play in the sector, and the sector will be lost. This is just a case of bad out-of-bounds lines, in my opinion. If they want to make this sector a little more competitive for defenders, they're going to have to restrict the attackers' movement options, okay? And arguably, they could redesign the area to make it a little better, but they're not going to do that, okay? They should move this out-of-bounds line perhaps up a little bit so the defenders can posture up a little more. They have more space to work with. Right now, this hill is too important, and it gets lost instantaneously. And if you lose it, you lose the point. And then this side over here has way too much room for the attackers to move. In my opinion, I don't really think they should be able to get up to this hill here. I think that would give the defenders more of a foothold to hold this sector and make it a little more competitive. Now, moving on here, we're just gonna open this thing up here. This is the third sector, okay? This is the dreaded tunnel sector. If you've played this map, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's the area that you zip line up to, then there are two tunnel entrances, and it's just a complete nightmare. This is a perfect example of the sectors getting harder and harder to capture for attackers as the maps goes on. However, this sector, in my experience, is an outlier. It goes from, you know, the first sector being really easy, generally speaking, for attackers. Second sector, a little harder. Third sector, it just punches you in the face. Like, oh boy, even if the defending team is really not that great, this sector is super difficult to take. It's very choke restrictive. The best way to take it as attackers is really just sort of go all the way. Oh, hold on, we got wrong color here. Follow this all the way, take the zip line up here. Then you can actually sort of skirt around this mountain and then go back inside to flank them. But generally speaking, I just don't think the area is very well designed, in my opinion. There's nothing we can do about that. There really isn't. But I don't know. Maybe they could allow attackers, or they could edit the map somehow so they can drop in from this hole up here. That's what people are doing in the playtest with helicopters, but I think they patched that. And generally speaking, I just think the area is really, really poorly designed, and I don't think there's anything they can really do about it. Now we're going to move on to some other examples here of sectors that are just really, really brutal. This is the first sector of Cracked. They already tried to edit this point. What they did is, if you remember the original version, I'm just going to very, very crudely draw this. You might not be able to see it. Look on the A point here. So the A point, the capture radius used to be about like this big, right? It was basically like a square. Now, what they tried to do to fix, quote unquote, this sector is they made the capture radius much bigger, okay? I think it's like something like this, right? So you can capture it from a wider area. However, that's not the problem. The problem is this sector is, again, set up to lose, okay? You will not have fun playing this as a defender. Reason being, attackers have infinite sight lines. Infinite. Everything is a head glitch. Even this rock up here, you can get on and snipe from. I believe you can snipe from here. And once you're encroaching on the sides, I mean, you are seriously just encroaching on all sides. Everything is a head glitch. The defenders have zero play in this sector at all, and this sector is lost, assuming your team is half decent and has 5 brain cells to rub together. Again, this is a case of like, you're just giving the attackers way too much to work with. They should make these rocks here out of bounds. There's no reason why this area should be in bounds for attackers. I don't really understand it. It plays no part in the gameplay unless you're these degenerate sniper players that sit back there basically just being a complete nuisance. We don't need that, I don't think. They should really move this out of bounds line somewhere to like, I don't know, maybe here-ish. And then they should make the sniper rocks out of bounds. And that would take a little ranged pressure away from the defenders. It would mitigate chip damage. And again, in my opinion, it would make it a more balanced server experience to play in. Now we're going to take a look at, again, an example of a very, very difficult sector, this time at the end of the game. And this sector is actually this is one of the most quote-unquote well-balanced, yet still very difficult sectors to take. Typically, you get here pretty quickly, but you can easily burn. I mean, you see here 338 tickets we have. You could easily burn 338 tickets and lose the game on this sector. It is that difficult to take, but it's not impossible. If you have a good team, you can do it. Now, I'm going to point out why this sector is, in my opinion, a pretty good design. So as you can see, you have like 3 quote-unquote lanes or main lanes. You have this lane here, right? You have the center lane. Then you have this sort of flank lane over here, okay? It's generally speaking, that's like a 3-lane thing. Then you have like the connecting things. Then you have like a middle alley lane here, and you can cut through here, and you can flank around into C2. So it's not as quote-unquote complex from an overall layout, but it is still very difficult to play for both sides because the defenders can head glitch from inside of the building. The defenders can head glitch from these walls here. The defenders can they can head glitch behind this bus, and you have full LOS of all the pushes. And you see where I'm getting here. Head glitches. There are, if I marked every head glitch available right here for you guys, the video would be an hour long. Okay, that is why some of these maps feel so frustrating to play. You think you have a good understanding of the area, and then all of a sudden, a brand new angle appears out of nowhere that honestly, you could have never predicted in your wildest imagination. So in my opinion, this cracked defense last sector here, it's one of the better quote unquote frustrating sectors because it's difficult to take, but I think it's, decently designed. Now we're going to take a look at Shafted. As you can see by me like stammering here, this sector, I mean, I literally have PTSD from how dog shit this sector is. I'm so sorry. This sector is again an example of a sector that is set up to just completely lose, in my opinion. If the attackers know what they're doing, if the snipers camp in the uncap and use this LOS to look through the entire building, which if you didn't know you can do that from your uncap. Yeah, it's just incredibly frustrating. As you can see, the defenders have almost no movement here. They really cannot, flank the trains. They have very, very limited access to the right side of the map. You can't even peek this train, which is very, very common angle for people to look through on that angle there to cut off movement. And the interior of these buildings it's so difficult to move through without getting shot. This is a head glitch. This is a head glitch. All of this in middle is a head glitch. You can hardly peek. You really can. And I think, again, like I mentioned with cracked, head glitching. But head glitching is not the entire story. We'll get to the gunplay a little later. I just want to cover some more areas of these maps because I think it's important. But shockingly, even worse than Shafted first sector, Threshold first sector is, in my opinion, the worst sector in the entire game. This sector is so bad that it's actually impressive. The reason being is, in my playtime experience, the only solid, consistent way to hold this sector as defense is to A, have the greatest team of all time, B, the enemy team has to be terrible, and C, from spawn, meaning the spawns you can get as a defender spawning on A point from the beginning of the game, are roughly here, maybe like some over here and here. Okay, they're like 4, maybe 5 spawn points. If you get either of these two spawns right here, it's over. Because the only strat to hold this point is get this spawn or this spawn, run through the point, and then hold this front area. If you lose this front street area, you lose the point. Reason being, if you lose this area, the enemies bunch up on these walls here, right? And eventually there's 32 people in front of you and you just lose. There's nothing you can do. You cannot flank and shoot them from the H. I call this the H center thing here. You can't do that. You do not have line of sight. You cannot push out to the street because what do we see? The attackers have head glitches from their spawn that cover every single defender flank possible except this street hold right here. That's it. That's your only chance. Horrible design. Just terrible. I don't even know where to begin with this. This is a sector where I honestly don't even have any suggestions about how to fix it because I think they would need to redesign the entire area. I really do. It's worth noting that the attackers can also blow up these walls here. So they have full line of sight into the A point and into this corner, right? So the defenders' positions are instantly undermined, and the only counterplays in this entire sector is banking on the attackers being basically terrible and not understanding they can get to the street before the defenders can. So your only chance is RNG, realistically speaking. That's not good. And one of the few last things we're going to touch here is trench lines first sector. This is, again, another... You can see a theme here. The first sector is a huge problem area on these maps. This is one, again, that is, I think, designed to be lost. First of all, the attackers get a tank and you don't. Okay, you're the defenders, you don't get a tank. You don't get to do anything with that. Not only do they get a tank, the tank has really, really good cover they can retreat to. If there's a good tank player on the attacking team, good luck. Because God knows your team is not going to shoot the tank. Hey, God knows. Hey, we've both played Battlefield, right? I'm sure you guys watching this video played Battlefield. You know the engineers on your team are not doing shit. So The problem with this sector is, again, the attackers have so much play, and the defenders have such a tiny little area they have to defend, and it's just brutal. The attackers have so much space, they can easily flank around this area, and once they do that, they have this little hill, and it's actually covered here a little bit from the defender's uncap, and they can flank around, and, I mean, at that point, especially if you have a good tanker, you have lost a point. I mean, the attackers bunch up in the front here. They have great cover. The defenders, yes, they can dig in, but again, if you're playing this sector correctly, you're not going directly at the point. You're really not. You're going this side. You're going this side. You're flanking around them here. You're in the tank, you know, bombarding the point, making sure they can't peek. You can even, and I've done this before, you can sit in this tower here, and you have full line of sight of everything, bro. If you're a good shot with a DMR or a sniper, I highly recommend trying on a trench lines attack to sit in this tower here and just annoy the defenders. You can really limit their movement inside of this point and make their lives a living hell. Generally speaking, though, like I said at the beginning of the video, these maps play significantly better on King of the Hill, although they're not the greatest maps of all time. But it's funny because Shafted goes from, in my opinion, one of the worst maps to experience on AD to actually one of the best King of the Hill maps because it becomes this Operation Locker type experience. But now we're going to talk about the other things that I mentioned in this video, the head glitching, and why the gunplay sort of factors into why these maps are so frustrating to play. So the problem with the head glitches and the gunplay is a pretty interesting one, but make no mistake, the way the maps play and head glitching and the gunplay go hand in hand. If you don't know what a head glitch is, it is basically a peak that only shows your head or the top of your head, and it makes you incredibly difficult to not only see, but it makes you difficult to kill. The way Delta Force works right now, when you shoot a gun, the bullets actually come out of your head, okay? They don't come out chest level or out of the end of your barrel. They come literally out of your forehead. So if you can peek over anything and you can see someone, you can hit them. Now combine that with gunplay that has unbelievable engagement distances, and the amount of random angles you can kill people from is infinite. I won't yap on too much about this because I have made entire videos about why I think the gunplay needs to change, but it's very obvious that there needs to be something done about the head glitching as well. That's a very, very easy fix. Those of you that played Battlefield 4 will remember they even fixed it in that game, and all they did is they made the bullets come out of the weapon's barrel rather than your player model's head. That resulted in people not being able to head glitch, and they had to peek with their full body or find some other cover to peek, which made the maps more predictable and the gameplay more natural. If the Delta Force developers combine that very simple change with changes to the gunplay that reduce engagement distance, I think the game would become significantly more enjoyable. I think the difference would be night and day. Now you may ask, okay, well, how do we reduce the engagement distances? Again, I'll just sort of try to give you the crash course here. The problem with trying to reduce the engagement distances or reduce the range weapons can reach out to is you have a very limited number of options. Yes, you can touch damage drop-off of the weapons. You can make them deal less damage at range. However, that is a very slippery slope, as we saw in Battlefield 5 TTK 5.2, where they made weapons with 20-round magazines take 13 bullets to kill at range. It felt like trash, so realistically, the only thing Delta Force can do with damage drop-off is increase BTK at great distance by about 1. And I'm not exaggerating. Anything more than that, it would feel horrible. So the reality is they are extremely limited in the amount they can change damage drop-off across every weapon category in the game, but they're also very limited with the other categories they can change. They cannot reduce muzzle velocity very much. It would make weapons feel really bad. They could maybe tweak it about 10%. A 10% nerf across all weapons, that would be okay. But again, anything more than that would be complete overboard. And the big one I see people mention all the time is they just need to increase recoil. Job done. No, actually, they're extremely limited with the amount they can increase recoil because you have to think about the accessibility of the game. Even PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds is starting to reduce their recoil because it is hard for an average player to even pick up an AR and shoot anything with it. Delta Force, as it stands right now, already has fairly high recoil for the average player, and if they were to increase it anymore, I really would start to worry about the just average player's experience when it comes to being able to shoot a gun. And like I've explained in many videos before, this leaves one very unpopular option, but I don't believe it deserves to be an unpopular option. I think people completely misunderstand and overreact to the remaining option. And the remaining option to fix Delta Force's gunplay is adding spread. Gasp! Oh my god. Oh, everyone freak out in the comment section. I hate spread! No, you don't. You just don't understand spread, and I will try to explain it as best I can. Whenever some people hear the word spread, for whatever reason, there is this automatic assumption that they are simply not going to be able to hit someone that is standing 5 feet in front of them because, quote, my bullets are gonna go around them. It's so random. And this couldn't be any farther from the actual reality of the situation. The simplest way to explain spread and how it should be implemented in Delta Force to reduce engagement distances is right now in Delta Force, you can full auto 100 rounds without stopping at all, right? You can just shoot and then keep shooting until you run out of ammo, and all the bullets are extremely accurate, right? If you added spread, the only thing that would change is about every 7 to 9 bullets, you would have to, get this, stop shooting for 1/10 of a second and then continue to shoot. That's it. All adding spread to the game does is it makes sure that there's a mechanic in place that reduces the effective range of weapons, or at bare minimum makes it harder for players to be effective at those ranges. It adds a skill gap, right? Better players will be able to control the bursting better and therefore extend their range farther than some players. But keep in mind, this is very much at range, okay? Great distances. Spread will not affect CQC gameplay. Spread will have a very minimal effect on mid-range gameplay. And keep in mind, mid-range in this game is like 50 meters. And I could spend an entire 3-hour video discussing the nuances of this subject, but my entire point is the community should really open up their mind a little bit and consider spread as an extremely effective way to solve the ridiculous engagement ranges that we see in Delta Force, particularly of some submachine guns and ARs that reach out to like, oh, I don't know, 150 meters. So to wrap this massive yap session up and to summarize things a little bit, I think a lot of the map zones need a lot of work. In some areas, all they could do is move some out of bounds lines, and I think that that would largely fix the problem. Some areas have way more wrong and are probably never going to be fixed, but there are certain other things you can do in order to make the gameplay more bearable and less frustrating, such as addressing head glitching and addressing the gunplay reaching out to unbelievable distances. Especially the gunplay. If they address the gunplay and reduce the engagement distances, it would open up more freedom of movement, and you would see a lot more, rotations happening because people are less afraid to do that rotation. So thank you guys so much for hanging out. I appreciate it. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and definitely let me know your thoughts about this down below. I will be keeping an eye on this. And hopefully the Delta Force developers watch this video. I'm not sure if they still watch my content. I haven't been uploading, too positive videos about the game lately. But, it's tough love, all right? I want the game to be good. I think it has great potential. So I'm going to make, videos that have critique in them. And there it is. Thank you guys for watching. Be sure to swing by the Twitch streams. I stream every single day and on this YouTube channel. Subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, all that great stuff. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.